Hey guys, sorry I could not be there today. We're going to go over the PPF curve worksheet, which you should have got yesterday in class. If you were not here, go grab one now. They should be still on the front table. They look like this. It's a one sheet of paper. There's no back. It's just the 6 boxes. So we are going to go over the answers, or what you should have put as the answers. So remember, the PPF curve, which stands for the Production Possibilities Frontier Curve, is going to be a graph that shows what you can possibly produce with the resources that you have. And so we're going to have like a default graph. Here, let me get my insert. I want to insert drawing. I'm going to be drawing these like as we go. So hopefully this is easy use. Okay, so the very first question is talking about show and explain. Just really quickly, show is and explain are AP terminology. Show means you have to graph, like no writing would be considered correct if they asked you to show. And then explain is explaining why you made the changes you did. Like connect the prompt with your drawing. So your explanation is not going to say things like, I shifted the graph to the right. No, your graph would say that. You'd be like, it shifted to the right because, and then your explanation. So on the first question, it says, show and explain the change to long run when the nation experiences a decline in college admissions. So that means less people are, or fewer people are going to college. So I wonder if I can actually, hold on. Can I draw with this thing, pen? I think I can. If that's the case, this will make it a whole lot easier because this is touchscreen. Okay, so show and explain. Yes, nice. So here we have a PPF curve between capital goods, capital, and consumer goods. So because it's taking forever and I'm having to do this with my finger, I'm just going to label it on the very first graph here. But your graphs should be labeled in every single one of them with capital goods on the y-axis and consumer goods on the x-axis. Hopefully you watched yesterday's video with Mr. Clifford talking about capital and consumer goods and explaining what they were. He talked about how capital goods is like capital, it's machinery, technology, machines in a factory, things like that, while consumer goods are goods that we buy at a store. So like capital, he called it like a pizza oven, and consumer would be like pizza. So a pizza oven is used to make pizza. So when you change capital, it's going to change. It's going to change consumer goods. But if you can change consumer goods, it's not like the other way around. So all right. So when we have less people going to college, that is going to be less human capital. Remember, the 5 factors of production are land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and human capital. And any of those change, it's going to shift your PPF curve because it changes how much you can produce. And if less people go to college, then you'll produce less consumer goods and capital goods. So I have an arrow here, a leftward arrow for capital and consumer goods. And you're making less of both. So you're getting closer to that origin there. You're making fewer capital and fewer consumer goods. So you're getting closer to the origin, smaller numbers, a smaller PPF curve. All right. Next, we have a PPF curve once again between capital goods. I'm just going to do cap and con for consumer. And when a nation interest rates decline. Okay, so in class, we would have had a nice long discussion about what an interest rate is, what you think it is, and how does that affect production. But interest rates, so I don't have time for that. Interest rates, and I need you to write this down somewhere in your notes because we're going to be talking about interest rates from here on out until June for the rest of the year. Interest rates is the price of a loan. It's the price of a loan. That's what an interest rate is. So you have to ask yourself, if interest rates decline, what happens to the price of loans? Loans are cheaper. And so if loans are cheaper, the prices of them are gone down, businesses can take out more loans. Yes, you can say people take out more loans, but if businesses take out more loans than people, in fact, like think about it this way: who's going to take out a loan for a pizza oven, or are you going to take out a loan for a pizza? probably a pizza oven, which is capital goods. But here's the thing. If businesses take out more loans because loans are cheaper, they don't have to pay as much back, then they can produce more capital goods. But if they produce more capital goods, wouldn't that also produce more consumer goods in the long run? Because more pizza ovens will eventually lead to more pizza. So anytime there's an increase of capital, keep in mind, capital goods is a resource itself. So if you're going to increase capital, you will also be increasing consumer spending or not consumer spending, sorry, consumer goods, because capital makes more consumer goods. So it's a rightward shift for both of them. Oh, it kind of stays on the screen. Oh, look at that. Technology. But I'm going to erase it. All right. These two are tricky questions. This should not have been an easy worksheet. If you're getting some of these wrong, that is okay. It will come to you. So we got capital goods on the Y, consumer goods on the X. The next question is saying change in economic growth when a nation chooses to spend more on consumer goods. Okay, so this term economic growth, and also up here, long run, whenever you see these two words, they're kind of telling you an answer, because in the long run, there's going to be a shift, and economic growth is a shift. So there's not going to be any type of movement. It's not going to be just a point change. Anytime there's a long run change or an economic growth change, the entire PPF curve will shift. Which direction? Don't know yet, but it will. So like those are words that are implying, hey, this is going to be a shift of the entire curve. All right, show and explain a change in economic growth, which is going to be a shift, if a nation chooses to spend more on consumer goods. So let's say that they are spending this. Oh, I didn't change colors. Let's do this. Oh, look at me. Just call me Khan Academy. All right. So let's say that a nation is at A, and they're producing that many capital goods and that many consumer goods. And now they want to produce more consumer goods because that is what the nation is spending money on. And so they're going to go from A, let's say, to B. They're producing more consumer goods and fewer capital goods. And that's the problem. Because a nation is producing more consumer goods because of scarcity, the opportunity cost is they're neglecting their capital good production. They're spending all their resources on making pizza and neglecting making pizza ovens. And eventually, the pizza ovens that they have are going to break down. They're going to deteriorate. They're going to fall apart. And since you've neglected them, you don't have any to replace the failing models, the old failing models. And so in the long run, the entire PPF curve will shift inwards. Really, the only thing you need here is a leftward shift of the PPF curve to like the green arrow with the green PPF curve. I just wanted to show you the thought process behind it. Going from A to B, making more consumer goods in the long run decreases capital, which is a resource, and there's fewer resources, so it's going to be a leftward shift. On this next graph, once again, we've got capital goods and consumer goods. I meant some of these to be kind of tricky to get you. All right, so this is the first introduction of this word, recession. What is a recession? Okay, a recession is when no one's buying anything, people are out of work, businesses are shutting down. Okay, businesses are shutting down. There's lots of unemployment. People are looking for work. No one's hiring. That's a recession. The problem with a recession is, notice how I didn't say anything on this situation about economic growth, and I didn't say anything about in the long run. This is not a shift. A recession on the PPF curve is when you are a point inside. Is it possible to be in a recession? Yes. Is it efficient to be in a recession? No. And the reason that you're at point A is because we have high unemployment. There are still workers. You still have labor. They are just not employed. They are just not working. They're not dead. If like everyone that was unemployed dropped dead, then yes, there would be a leftward shift because there'd be less labor because there's less people. But there's still the same amount of people. They still are existing. They want to work. There are still factories there. The factories have not burned down. They are just empty because no one is using them. And so it's like having all this resources and not using it. So that's why it's a point inside the PPF curve. All right, and last two boxes down here. Show and explain The change of economic growth. Ooh, it says economic growth. So it must be some sort of shift. Can't just be a tricky point change, a movement. Between capital and consumer goods, when a nation increases in research and development by corporations. Okay, so they're researching, they're developing, they're probably researching and developing ways of better technology and better capital. And so whenever you increase your research and development, you're going to be able to produce more because you are finding and creating efficient ways to do old processes. Maybe inventing a faster pizza oven or a pizza oven that produces, more pizzas or something like that. And so it's going to be a rightward shift because you can produce more pizza ovens and therefore produce more pizza. And here is not it's just a drawing here. This PPF curve, it says draw an increasing PPF curve. This entire time, we've been drawing increasing PPF curves. Here, I want to show you what a constant PPF curve looks really quick. A constant PPF curve looks like this, where the slope is constant. That means opportunity cost is constant throughout. It's the same ratio. To make more, to make one more of this, you lose 3 of the other. To make one more, you lose 3. You make more, you like the same. It's the same ratio. But here, with an increasing PPF curve, that looks like that. The slope gets steeper and steeper and steeper, and slope represents opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost gets bigger and bigger and bigger as the slope gets steeper and steeper. Okay, so we've got capital goods on the y, consumer goods on the x-axis. Draw an increasing PPF curve between capital and consumer goods. Label Z a combination of x and y goods that are not possible. Okay, so not possible is going to be outside the graph, outside of our PPF curve. That's point C. And label point Q a point of efficient production. Okay, efficient means it's on the line, but with more resources towards factory and machinery. Okay, factory and machinery is code for capital goods. So we're going to be on the PPF curve, but a point closer to capital, and that's going to be point Q. And let's throw some boops on there as well. So I know lots of capital and very little consumer goods. Don't forget that origin too. Very nice. Okay, so hopefully this wasn't too tricky. I know that these middle two probably threw you off. That is okay. But now this is just a way to introduce terms like recession, like economic growth, like long run thing, and interest rates. Make sure you wrote down the definition of interest rates. Okay, hope to see you guys later. Have a great, well, right now it's evening, but have a great day. Bye. Bye.